Tipu Sultan was a junior contemporary of the last powerful Mughal emperor Aurangzeb. What Aurangzeb did in a span of 50 years throughout most of India, Tipu did the same thing in just 4 states in a span of about 17 years in South India. Your Majesty would soon proceed to prosecute a holy war against the infidels. Should those infidel Brahmins, that means he's referring to the Marathas, should those infidel Brahmins direct their power, the hands of the heroes of the faith of our Muslim soldiers in this part of the world shall be raised for their punishment. We should unite in carrying on a holy war against these infidels. Delhi, the seat of government of the Mohammedan faith. Delhi, the seat of government of the Mohammedan faith has been reduced to this state of ruin so that the infidels altogether prevail now. We should unite in carrying a holy war against the infidels and free these regions of Hindustan in the service of Islam. So this was Tipu Sultan's letter to the Afghan king named Zaman Shah, written sometime in 1794 or 95. This letter was part of Tipu's invitation to Zaman Shah to invade India and establish the sword of Islam in the country and free it from the darkness of the Kafirs. So this letter is just one tiny sample of hundreds of such letters that Tipu wrote to various people, like the Caliph in Turkey and also to the French, whom he invited to occupy India, and then he dreamt of sharing the spoils of the conquest. So over the last 40 odd years and up to the present time, this Islamic bigot Tipu Sultan has been hailed in the following terms. He was a freedom fighter, he was a tiger, he was a liberator of what I don't know, he was a patron of Hinduism, he was a tolerant ruler, and even more hilariously, one Kannada article in a mainstream newspaper described Tipu as a rocket scientist. I'm not kidding you. I'm not making this up. So let's puncture these myths one by one. So we begin with something called the sword of Tipu Sultan. So Tipu Sultan's rehabilitation as a freedom fighter roughly begins with a secular, eminence, with a secular eminence named Bhagwan S. Gidwani, who wrote a novel named The Sword of Tipu Sultan. Most of you are familiar with this title. So this novel was not based on any sort of history, but it was based on this Bhagwan S. Gidwani's imagination running really wild. So Sword of Tipu Sultan was made into a TV series by Sanjay Khan. Most of you might have seen that. It was telecast on Doordarshan. And after a few weeks, it evoked widespread outrage and a lawsuit was filed against Sanjay Khan by the Bombay Kerala Samaja. So this fake image of Tipu Sultan as a freedom fighter was later escalated by the dear departed by the late Girish Karnad, who wrote a dream called Tipu Vina Kanasugalu, which means Tipu's dreams, which was again heavily borrowed from Gidwani's novel. And in 2011 and 12, there was a proposal by the then Union Minister for Minority Affairs named Mr. Rahman Khan, who unfortunately happens to be from my state. It was submitted to the central government. The aim of the proposal was to establish an Islamic university near Srirangapatna, named in Tipu's honor. So Srirangapatna was the seat of power from where Tipu ruled. So this same Rahman Khan has also taken a DPS school, Delhi Public School franchisee in Bangalore. So, but apart from all these guys, guess who else has honored Tipu?
The President of India.
Pakistan.
The President
also.
Who's the BJP member?
Anyway, so we'll come to that in the Q&A. So Pakistan has named one of its missiles in the honor of Tipu, and the other missile names include Ghaznavi, Gauri, Abdali, and Babar. So what does the oral tradition in Karnataka and Kerala say about Tipu? So in Coorg and Sakleshpur region, street dogs are named after Tipu. And a branch of the Iyengar community hailing from Melkote near Mysore, it for generations together, it still doesn't celebrate Deepavali. From this, I'm talking about a period that began roughly in the late 18th century. From then on, one sect of the one lineage of Melkote Iyengars, they do not celebrate Deepavali because it was precisely on the day of Deepavali back then that Tipu massacred more than 10,000 Iyengars in Melkote. And several Kodava, that is Kurgi Kodavas, several Kodava Muslim families still retain their original Hindu surnames, their last names, family name. They still retain their original names despite forcible conversion of their ancestors by Tipu. Then the Kerala oral tradition remembers Tipu's visit to the Malabar as the deadly Padayotam, which means military march, where he literally burnt down Malabar, Kozhikode and several parts of Malabar right down to the ground. Only all that was left was ashes. So this, the Kerala local legends remember this as Padayotam. And then we come to the actual historical records for those who are interested to research more on Tipu. Then that is the other irony. Look around you, there is a wealth of historical records that still exist, which shows the exact opposite of what Tipu is portrayed. And some of these records are written by Tipu's own contemporaries and by his own biographer. So I'll give you a partial list. Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan by Levin B. Bowring, Mysore Gazetteer Volume 1 and 2, Selected Letters of Tipu Sultan by Colonel William Kirkpatrick, Nishan E. Haidari by Mir Hussain Ali Kirmani, who was Tipu's official biographer, the Malabar Manual by William Logan, and some British archives at Fort St. George and Fort St. Williams. So, in spite of availability of all these, tons of documents, these are primary sources that tell you the real story of that period. It is astonishing that Tipu is still hailed as a patriot and tiger and whatever, that this notion, this image of Tipu still persists.